The Galactic Council Hall was one of the largest structures ever built in the known universe. It floated in space near the center of the galaxy. From far away, it looked like a giant silver star shining in the darkness. Thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds traveled there every day. Inside, the hall was enormous. Huge circular platforms stretched across the room. Rows of seats climbed higher and higher like mountains. Bright blue lights moved slowly across the walls. Giant screens floated in the air, showing maps of star systems and information from every part of the galaxy. Representatives from many races sat in their places. Some races were tall and thin with glowing eyes. Some looked like giant reptiles covered in scales. Others had skin that changed colors every few seconds. A few had tentacles instead of arms. Normally, the council hall was filled with quiet talks and political arguments. But today was different. Today, everyone was waiting for humanity. Strange whispers moved across the room. The humans requested an emergency meeting. What happened? Did they lose another border world? Maybe they need help. Many aliens smiled. Some laughed quietly. For many years, humans had never been taken seriously by the galaxy's strongest races. Humanity had entered galactic society only a few centuries ago. Compared to older races, humans were still young, too emotional, too aggressive, too unpredictable. That was what many species believed. Some races respected humans because they worked hard and adapted quickly, but many others saw them as weak newcomers. Today, they expected another human complaint. Nothing more. Suddenly, the lights inside the hall became dim. The giant doors at the center slowly opened. The room became quiet. Everyone looked toward the entrance. A single human walked inside. No guards, no soldiers, no assistants. Just one man. He wore a dark uniform with a silver symbol of Earth on his chest. His steps were slow and calm. He showed no fear. He showed no anger. He simply walked forward. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the giant chamber. Thousands of eyes followed him. Some representatives looked curious. Some looked bored. Some already looked amused. The human finally reached the center platform. A bright blue light surrounded him. The giant floating screens turned toward him. For a few seconds, he said nothing. The silence became heavy. Then he looked around the room. His face remained calm. "My name is Ambassador Daniel Hayes of Earth." His voice was clear. No shaking, no fear. "We have come today with an official message from humanity." The room remained silent. Daniel looked at the giant map floating above him. Several red marks appeared near human territory. Border systems. Recently, many powerful races had moved closer and closer toward human space. Some had taken mining worlds. Some had entered restricted zones. Others had ignored agreements made with Earth. Human leaders had sent warnings many times before. Nobody listened. Daniel finally spoke again. "This is humanity's final warning." The words echoed through the room. Several aliens looked at each other. A few raised their eyebrows. Daniel continued. "Leave our border systems. Stop expansion into human space. Stop military activity near Earth territories. If these actions continue." He paused. The entire room waited. There will be consequences. For 2 seconds, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then a small laugh appeared somewhere near the upper seats. Then another. Then another. Within moments, the entire hall exploded with laughter. Loud laughter filled every corner of the chamber. Some alien leaders leaned back in their chairs. Some hit their tables while laughing. Others could barely breathe. One reptilian representative stood up with tears in his eyes. "Consequences," he said while laughing. "Humanity is threatening the Galactic Council?" More laughter spread. Another leader smiled. "The humans think they are powerful now." A third representative spoke. "Maybe Earth built 5 extra ships this year." The room shook with laughter again. Even some neutral races smiled quietly. Humanity threatening the galaxy sounded ridiculous. Daniel simply stood there. His face never changed. No anger, no embarrassment, no reaction at all. That slowly started making a few people uncomfortable. A tall alien leader from one of the strongest empires finally stood up. His voice filled the room. Human ambassador. The laughter slowly stopped. You are standing before the greatest powers in existence. He looked down at Daniel. What exactly can humanity do? The room became silent again. Everyone waited. Daniel looked directly at him. Then he gave a small smile. Not a proud smile. Not an angry smile. A strange smile. The kind that made people nervous without knowing why. He took a slow breath. Then he spoke. You have exactly 24 hours. Silence. No explanation. No threat. Just those words. Daniel stepped back. He turned around, and he started walking toward the exit. People looked confused. Some leaders laughed again. Others whispered quietly. But something felt strange. Very strange. Nobody noticed one small detail. Far outside the council station, across human space, millions of human ships had already started moving. And 24 hours later, every human ship in the galaxy vanished. Every single one. Gone. Without a trace. End of part 1. The first few minutes after humanity disappeared were filled with confusion. Inside the Galactic Council Hall, many representatives still believed it was some kind of trick. Some laughed again. Some thought humans were trying to scare everyone. Others believed Earth was playing a political game. The humans want attention. They are trying to create fear. This is another human drama. Those words spread through the council room. But the laughter slowly began to disappear, because reports started arriving, one after another, then another, then another. Bright red warning lights suddenly appeared across the giant floating screens. Council officers immediately stood up from their stations. Some looked confused. Others suddenly looked worried. One officer quickly walked toward the center platform. Emergency reports coming from Sector 7. A second officer spoke almost immediately. Reports coming from outer human territories. Then another voice came. Military stations requesting immediate confirmation. Now the room was becoming quiet. Very quiet. The giant screen above the council changed. A map of the galaxy appeared. Small blue lights represented human ships. Normally the map was crowded. Human cargo ships, human defense fleets, mining vessels, trade ships, civilian transports. Thousands and thousands of signals filled human territory. But now, nothing, absolute nothing. The room became silent. Several leaders slowly stood from their seats. One alien moved closer toward the giant screen. His eyes narrowed. Where are they? No one answered. Council technicians started pressing commands quickly. The system scanned again. Then again. Then again. Same result. No signals. No ships. No movement. It was impossible. One military commander stood up immediately. Search nearby sectors. Orders spread through communication channels instantly. Scanning stations began searching surrounding systems. Military satellites activated. Deep space sensors started working. For several minutes, everyone waited. Then the answers came back. Negative, negative, negative. Nothing found. The room suddenly felt colder. The same reptilian leader who laughed before looked confused now. Search farther. Again scanners moved. Again systems searched. Again the answers returned. Nothing. The human fleets had disappeared completely. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Not hidden. Gone. Like someone had erased them from existence. People began whispering around the room. This cannot happen. No race can move this many ships. Millions of vessels don't disappear. A gray-skinned representative suddenly stood up. They ran. Several heads turned toward him. He crossed his arms proudly. Humans became afraid. They made their warning and escaped. Some leaders nodded. The idea sounded possible. Humans knew they were weaker than larger empires. Maybe they finally understood reality. Maybe they left. But then another report arrived. A young council officer looked pale. His voice shook. There is another problem. Everyone looked toward him. He swallowed hard. The ships aren't the only things missing. Silence. What do you mean? Someone asked. The officer pressed commands. The giant screen changed again. Now images from human colony worlds appeared. A city filled the screen. But something looked wrong. Very wrong. The city was empty. Cars stood in roads. Lights were still on. Stores remained open. Doors stood unlocked. Food sat on tables. Machines continued working. But there were no people. No movement. No humans. Nothing. The camera moved through streets. Empty. Buildings. Empty. Parks. Empty. Schools. Empty. Millions of people had vanished. Another image appeared. Another colony world. Same thing. Empty cities. Empty homes. Empty streets. The room became completely silent. Someone whispered quietly, "What happened?" Another world appeared. Then another. Same results. Everywhere. Humans were gone. Not only ships. Not only soldiers. Everyone. Entire planets looked frozen in time. Like people had simply stood up and disappeared. Fear slowly entered the room. Real fear, because this no longer felt like escape. This felt planned. Very carefully planned. One military commander spoke slowly. No civilization can move billions of people in one day. Nobody argued, because everyone knew he was right. Transporting even a small planetary population took weeks, maybe months. But humanity had moved entire worlds. Without warning, without detection, without leaving evidence. No one understood how. Hours passed. Search teams expanded farther and farther. Still nothing. Human space had become silent. The stars themselves felt empty. Then suddenly, a loud alarm echoed through the chamber. Everyone jumped. Warning lights flashed red. Council officers turned toward their screens. What happened now? A technician looked frozen. His eyes stared at the data in front of him. His face lost color. "Sir, what is it?" The technician looked up slowly. "We just received a signal." Silence. A human signal. Instantly everyone stood. "Where?" The technician zoomed the map outward. Farther, farther, farther. Past known territories. Past explored sectors. Past charted space. The signal was coming from somewhere beyond the edge of the known galaxy. People stared in disbelief. That region was empty. Nothing existed there. No planets. No stations. No life. Only darkness. But the signal was real. One council leader slowly asked, "Play it." Nobody moved. The room suddenly felt heavy. Because for the first time that day, nobody was laughing anymore. End of part 2. The entire Galactic Council Hall stood in complete silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Thousands of eyes stared at the giant screen floating above the center platform. The signal was still there. A tiny blinking light at the very edge of the galaxy, far beyond known space, far beyond places anyone had explored. For hundreds of years, ships had avoided those regions. There was nothing there. No planets. No stations. No stars worth studying. Only endless darkness. Yet, somehow, a human signal had come from there. The council technicians looked at each other nervously. One officer slowly turned toward the leaders. "We confirmed it 3 times. His voice was low. "It is definitely human." The room became quieter than before. One representative suddenly stood up. "No." He shook his head immediately. "No, this is impossible." Another leader crossed his arms. "This is a trick." Others quickly agreed. "Yes, it has to be. Humans are trying to scare us." But their voices sounded weaker now. Nobody truly believed those words anymore. Not after seeing empty human worlds. Not after seeing billions of people disappear. Not after watching an entire civilization vanish in a single day. The council commander looked toward the technicians. "Play the signal." No one moved. For a moment, nobody wanted to touch the controls. A strange feeling filled the room, like opening a door inside a dark house, like hearing footsteps behind you. Finally, one technician took a deep breath. His shaking hand pressed a command. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Only static noise filled the chamber. The sound echoed through the giant room. Then suddenly the noise stopped. The room became silent. A black screen appeared. Everyone stared. Slowly, words appeared. Humanity transmission. Authorized level, Omega. Unknown access detected. Several council members looked confused. Omega? What is Omega? No one knew. Then the screen changed again. A human face appeared. It was Ambassador Daniel Hayes. But something felt different. Very different. His face showed no emotion. No smile. No fear. No anger. He looked directly toward the camera. Then he spoke. This message is being played because Phase 1 has begun. Instant silence. Several leaders looked at each other. Phase 1? The same question entered every mind. Phase 1 what? Daniel continued speaking. If you are seeing this message, humanity has already left known space. People around the chamber leaned forward. Daniel's eyes remained calm. You believed humanity was weak. You believed humanity was small. You believed humanity was unimportant. No one spoke. No one laughed. Because now those words felt different. Very different. Daniel slowly looked down before raising his eyes again. The galaxy made one mistake. You only looked at humanity's hands. Confused whispers spread around the room. Hands? What did that mean? Daniel continued. You never looked behind our backs. Suddenly the video ended. The screen went black. Silence. Absolute silence. Then everyone began talking at once. What does that mean? What is Phase 1? What were they hiding? Voices exploded across the chamber. Questions filled the room. Confusion spread everywhere. Then suddenly, one of the technicians froze. His eyes became wide. Very wide. His fingers stopped moving. The council commander noticed immediately. What happened? No answer. The technician continued staring. What happened? He shouted again. Slowly the technician pointed toward his screen. His hand was shaking. He whispered. We found something. The room immediately became silent again. The giant screen changed. A star map appeared. Then another. Then another. Red circles began appearing across unknown regions of space. Dozens. Hundreds. Thousands. People stared in confusion. What are those? The technician swallowed hard. We found hidden structures. Silence. What kind of structures? The technician zoomed the image closer. The entire room stopped breathing. Massive objects floated in dark space. Huge rings. Huge towers. Huge machine-like structures. Some were larger than planets. Some stretched across entire sectors. Ancient-looking metal covered their surfaces. Blue energy slowly moved across them. They had clearly existed for a long time. Yet nobody had ever seen them before. Nobody. One scientist stood up immediately. No. His face became pale. No. 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 Several people turned toward him. What is it? The scientist looked terrified. His eyes remained locked on the screen. I've seen shapes like these before. Silence. Everyone waited. Years ago, he had studied ancient records discovered on dead worlds. Old stories. Old ruins. Legends no one believed. Stories about giant structures hidden in darkness. Stories about gates. Ancient gates. Not weapons. Not stations. Roads. Doors. Pathways. The scientist slowly looked toward the council leaders. His voice barely came out. Humans didn't build these. Silence. Cold silence. Then he said the words that made fear spread across the entire room. They found them. And part 3. Nobody spoke. The giant council hall had become completely silent. Thousands of leaders sat frozen in their seats. The scientist's words still echoed inside everyone's mind. They found them. For several seconds, nobody even moved. Then suddenly voices exploded across the chamber. What does that mean? Found what? Explain now. The council commander raised his hand immediately. Silence. The room slowly became quiet again. The scientist stood near the center screen. Small drops of sweat had appeared on his forehead. His hands were shaking. He looked terrified. One council member stood up. Start talking. The scientist took a slow breath. Years ago, I studied ancient ruins discovered near dead star systems. He looked toward the floating images of the giant structures. Most people believed the stories were myths. He pressed several commands. New symbols appeared on the screen. Strange symbols, unknown symbols, ancient symbols. Then the giant structures changed beside them. The same patterns, the same designs, the same markings. People slowly realized what they were seeing. The symbols matched. Exactly. The scientists looked toward the room. These structures existed long before our civilizations. Silence. Long before humans. Silence. Long before the Galactic Council itself. A nervous whisper moved across the chamber. Ancient civilizations had always interested scientists. But this was different. Nobody had ever found structures this large before. Nobody. One military leader crossed his arms. So humans found old ruins. He shrugged. What changes? The scientist looked at him. Everything. That changed everything. He pressed another command. A file appeared. Classified human record. Unknown discovery. Year 2187. Location. Dark Sector 19. People stared. A video began playing. The footage looked old. A small human exploration ship floated in darkness. Several voices played in the recording. We found something. No, that's impossible. Oh my God. The camera slowly moved. At first there was only darkness. Then suddenly something appeared. People inside the council hall leaned forward. A giant ring floated in space. Massive. Impossible. Its size was difficult to understand. Entire fleets could pass through its center. Blue energy moved across its surface like flowing water. The exploration crew sounded terrified. What is that thing? No known race built something this size. Should we move closer? The video suddenly ended. Silence returned. Everyone stared at the screen. One leader slowly spoke. So humans discovered these structures. The scientist nodded. Yes, but they kept studying them. Images appeared rapidly. Years passed. Human ships around giant structures. Research stations. Hidden bases. Experiments. More discoveries. Then a final image appeared. The room suddenly became cold. People stared without blinking. It showed a map. The giant structures were connected together. Thousands of lines spread across space. Like roads. Like pathways. Like a giant network. The scientists looked around slowly. They were not weapons. Silence. They were gates. Confused voices spread immediately. Gates. What kind of gates? The scientists zoomed toward one structure. Human notes appeared beside it. Ancient transport network. Destination unknown. Long-range connection detected. One leader frowned. Transport network? The scientist nodded slowly. These things connect places together. People stared. He swallowed. They connect places very far away. Another leader crossed his arms. How far? The scientist looked down for several seconds. Then he looked back up. Beyond our galaxy. Silence. Absolute silence. Someone laughed nervously. No, nobody joined him, because nobody thought it was funny. The scientist continued. For years, humans secretly studied the gates. They activated small sections. They sent probes. They sent machines. His voice became quieter. And eventually, he stopped. The council commander looked toward him. And eventually what? The scientist slowly looked at everyone. His face had become pale again. They found something. No one moved. No one breathed. The scientist pressed one final command. Words appeared across the screen. Human security record. Threat status. Extinction level. Do not open without authorization. The room felt heavy. Very heavy. Slowly the file opened. One sentence appeared. Just one. People stared at it. Some could not understand the words at first. Then their eyes widened, because the message said, "We were never alone out there." Silence. No voices. No whispers. Nothing. Then another sentence appeared beneath it. Humanity observed unknown movement for 73 years. Unknown objects approaching galaxy. Estimated arrival, 24 hours. The entire council hall froze. Eyes widened. Faces lost color. Bodies became still. Suddenly everyone understood. Humanity did not disappear because they were afraid. Humanity disappeared because they already knew something was coming. And Earth's warning was never meant to threaten the galaxy. It was meant to save it. Then suddenly, emergency alarms exploded across the chamber. Red lights flashed everywhere. Warning screens turned on. A terrified technician jumped from his seat. His voice shook. Unknown objects detected. The council commander looked up immediately. Where? The technician slowly raised his shaking hand toward the screen. Galaxy Edge. Silence. Then his face turned white. There are thousands of them. And the Part 4, red warning lights flashed across the entire Galactic Council Hall. Emergency alarms screamed from every direction. People immediately stood up from their seats. Some looked terrified. Others looked confused. Several military commanders rushed toward their control stations. The giant screens above the chamber changed instantly. The words flashed across them. Unknown contact detected. Threat level unconfirmed. Total objects scanning. The numbers started moving rapidly. 500, 1,200, 3,000, 7,000, 10,000. The counting continued. The technician stared at a screen. His face slowly lost color. No! A council commander looked toward him. What is wrong? The technician swallowed hard. The system stopped counting. Silence. What do you mean stop counting? The technician looked up slowly. There are too many. The room became quiet. Very quiet. Everyone looked toward the giant map. Far away at the edge of the galaxy, small red dots had started appearing. Then more. Then more. Then thousands more. They looked like a wave of red blood slowly spreading across darkness. One leader stood up. Increase image quality. Commands were entered immediately. The screen zoomed closer. People waited. At first they saw only darkness. Then shapes slowly appeared. The room froze. No one had expected this. No one. They were not normal ships. There were no engines, no windows, no weapon systems, no lights, nothing. Only giant black objects floating through space. Their surfaces looked strange, almost alive. The metal moved slowly like dark liquid. Some structures looked larger than moons. Some stretched across thousands of kilometers. Others had shapes that made no sense. Looking at them for too long almost hurt the eyes. Several people looked away. A scientist whispered, "Were these things?" Nobody answered, because nobody knew. Suddenly another warning appeared. Unknown energy detected. Unknown signal detected. Signal analysis failed. The council commander looked toward communications officers. Try contacting them. Immediately signals were sent. Standard greetings. Emergency requests. Identification requests. Nothing returned. No answer. Only silence. One military leader crossed his arms. Move our fleets. Orders spread immediately. Across nearby sectors, warships started moving. Thousands of military vessels from different races activated their engines. Huge fleets gathered together. For the first time in Galactic Council history, every major empire worked together. Within hours, enormous fleets stood between the strange objects and the inner galaxy. Millions of weapons locked onto targets. Thousands of commanders waited. Inside the council hall, everyone watched. Then something happened. One of the black objects moved. Slowly. Very slowly. Then it stopped. For several seconds, nothing happened. Suddenly, the stars around it disappeared. People stared, confused. Then they understood. The stars had not disappeared. The black object had become larger. It was unfolding. Pieces of its surface slowly opened outward, like giant metal wings. Like something waking up after sleeping for a very long time. Fear entered the room. One commander shouted, "Fire immediately!" Thousands of weapons activated. Blue energy beams exploded forward. Missiles crossed space. Rail cannons fired. The darkness itself seemed to shake. The attack looked beautiful, like thousands of stars exploding together. Everyone watched. Everyone waited. Then the smoke cleared. Silence. Nothing happened. The black object continued moving. No damage. Not even a mark. The room became completely silent. Another fleet attacked. Again, nothing happened. Again, nothing. One military officer looked terrified. Impossible. A third attack began. Planetary weapons joined the battle. Defense stations fired. Moon cannons fired. Entire sectors attacked together. Light filled space. Then silence returned. The black objects continued moving. Slowly. Calmly. Like rain falling. Like they did not even notice the attacks. People inside the council hall stared without breathing. One scientist whispered, "The weapons are disappearing." Confused faces turned toward him. He zoomed toward battle footage. Everyone looked closer. Then their eyes widened. The attacks were not hitting. They were vanishing. Energy beams touched the black surface, then disappeared. Missiles touched the surface, then disappeared, like the objects were eating them. Silence. Cold silence. One commander stepped backward. "No! No!" His voice shook. This cannot be happening. Then suddenly another alarm screamed. A technician jumped from his chair. "Fleet 7 is gone." Everyone turned. What? Images appeared. Entire warships were disappearing, not exploding, not breaking apart, vanishing. 1 second they were there. The next second, empty space. No fire, no debris, nothing. People looked horrified. Another report arrived. Then another. Fleet 12 destroyed. Fleet 8 missing. Defense station lost. Panic spread across the room. The impossible was happening. The galaxy's strongest forces were collapsing, and they could not even understand why. Then suddenly, everything stopped. Every black object stopped moving at the same time. Silence filled space. Silence filled the council hall. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then a giant signal appeared across every screen. Unknown symbols covered the displays. Nobody recognized them. Not one person. Then slowly, one symbol translated itself. Just one. People stared. The translation system finished processing. A single word appeared. Returning. Silence. Absolute silence. Because at that moment, everyone finally understood. These things had been here before. And now, they had come back. And in Part 5, the entire Galactic Council Hall had become silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Thousands of eyes stared at the giant word floating across every screen. Returning. The word remained there. Bright. Cold. Heavy. Several leaders looked confused. Others looked terrified. One representative slowly stood from his seat. His voice shook. Returning? What does that mean? Nobody answered him. Because deep inside, everyone already knew the answer. Those things had not arrived for the first time. They had been here before. Long ago. Very long ago. And now they had returned. Suddenly another alarm echoed across the chamber. Warning lights flashed even faster. A technician looked down at his screen. Then his eyes opened wide. "Sir?" No one answered. The technician swallowed hard. "There is another signal." Silence. Another signal? The council commander looked at him immediately. "Where is it coming from?" The technician quickly typed commands. The map zoomed outward, past the battle zones, past human territory, past known space, toward the darkness beyond the galaxy. Then a blue light suddenly appeared. People looked confused. Unlike the black objects, the signal was different. Very different. It was human. The technician looked shocked. It's humanity. Instant whispers spread everywhere. "No." They came back? Impossible. The signal strength kept increasing, then increasing again. Then again, the room suddenly became bright. Across the giant screen, space itself began changing. Something was happening near the edge of the galaxy. At first, nobody understood. Then suddenly they saw it. Dark space began tearing apart, not exploding, opening, like invisible hands were pulling reality itself apart. A line of blue light appeared. Then the line became larger, 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 until a giant circle of energy floated in space. People stared without blinking. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. The giant portal stretched across thousands of kilometers. Blue energy moved around its edges like rivers of light. Space itself looked unstable around it. Then, something came through. A ship. Silence filled the room. Then another ship appeared. Then another. Then 10 more. Then hundreds. Then thousands. Everyone slowly stood. Some people forgot to breathe. These were human ships. But they looked nothing like the old ones. Not even close. The old human ships had looked simple. Strong but simple. These ships looked different. Their surfaces glowed with blue lines. Strange symbols covered their sides. Massive structures floated around them. Their size alone was terrifying. Some ships were larger than entire cities. Some looked larger than moons. Millions of ships began emerging from the giant portal. Endless numbers. Endless rows. Like an ocean made of steel and light. The same technician looked down at his screen. Then he looked back up. His voice barely worked. I cannot count them. Silence. No one laughed now. No one smiled. Because now they understood. Humanity had not escaped. Humanity had prepared. For generations they had prepared. They had found the ancient gates. They had learned their secrets. They had watched the darkness coming. And while the galaxy laughed, humanity had become stronger. Far stronger. Suddenly, every screen inside the council hall changed. A familiar face appeared. Ambassador Daniel Hayes. He looked exactly the same. Calm eyes. Calm expression. No anger. No pride. No smile. He looked directly toward the camera. Then he spoke. Leaders of the Galactic Council. Silence filled the room. We warned you. No one moved. No one looked away. We warned you many times. We asked you to listen. We asked you to prepare. Daniel slowly looked down, then raised his eyes again. But you chose laughter. No one had words. Several leaders lowered their heads because they remembered. They remembered the laughter. They remembered the jokes. They remembered looking down on humanity. Daniel continued. When we discovered what existed beyond the galaxy, he paused. We understood one thing. His eyes became serious. The galaxy was never in danger from humanity. Silence. It was in danger with us. Confused faces appeared everywhere. Daniel took a slow breath. So humanity left for one reason. People waited. Then he said, we needed time. Suddenly the giant human fleet started moving. Millions of ships accelerated together, like rivers flowing toward darkness, toward the black objects, toward the enemy. The battle began instantly. Blue light exploded across space. Massive energy waves crossed entire star systems. Black structures started breaking apart. For the first time, the enemy stopped moving. For the first time, they were being pushed back. People inside the council hall stared in shock. Hours later, silence returned. The black objects were gone, destroyed. The galaxy survived. Days later, thousands of leaders stood again inside the council chamber. But this time the room felt different. Very different. Because the seats where people once laughed had become silent. And everyone finally understood something. Humanity never gave a final warning because they were afraid. Humanity gave a final warning because they already knew what was coming. And the most dangerous humans were never the loud ones. They were the quiet ones. The ones who smiled and prepared. The end.